Hey everyone, so coming here today with another brand breakdown, and in this breakdown I want to go through Native, and this is Native Deodorant. So I've broken it down here in what would be lessons to take away. Now, the further context here as well is I'm a seven-figure entrepreneur, so I own a company selling products, i.e. building brands, and I own a company helping clients sell their products, i.e. An agency, and both of these are in Amazon FBA. So first up here, just go through a little bit of the snapshot here. And this is how a simple deodorant on Amazon turned into 100 million cash exit. At least this is what's reported. So, I mean, that's the dream, isn't it? Getting 100 million cash exit. So I've looked through their website, I've looked through Amazon, I've looked through Shopify. I've watched some interviews on Moaz Ali himself. So Moaz is the founder. This was started in 2015. And I'll give a little bit of insight into his mindset and some of the things he focuses on as well, so we can obviously get real actionable takeaways from what would be a 9-figure exit, a founder. And so let's dig in. So firstly, let's have a look. So natural deodorant, they also expanded into body wash and toothpaste as well. Exited in 2017 for 100 million all cash. At least this is what's reported. And the only time he raised as well was $500,000. So not a huge raise considering the exit they've had. So major exit, definitely aspirational. Why it matters. So we want to show how an everyday product, Amazon traction, D2C focus can lead to a 9-figure exit fast. So pretty epic stuff here. Let's start off with our bread and butter. Let's open up Amazon. Let's have a look at their numbers. Just making sure I had the right page open there. Let's open this up. Let's see what we're working with. Obviously, I am an Amazon FBA first, D2C second entrepreneur. So most of my experience is Amazon FBA. But I'm also focused on Shopify as well as of the last 12 months. I'm getting a lot of great ideas, different types of marketing for Shopify D2C versus Amazon FBA. And some of those you will already be aware of if you've been watching the previous videos. So on Amazon doing 6 million a month. What is actually interesting about this breakdown here compared to other brands we've looked at is that there's quite a large spread in terms of the hero products and right the way through. Usually you see this kind of concentration with the top 2 or 3 products where they're doing maybe 70-80% of the revenue. It's actually not the case here. There's a huge spread, and this is obviously testament to the brand, testament to their supporting products being of high quality, being highly effective, and being highly demanded by the customer. So obviously launching a hero product, but then supplementing that with also other great products as well is something they have done. So yeah, this is a little bit unique because usually you do see much heavier concentration in the top products, and in this case we see it very spread out, as you can see, throughout the whole of there. So we're looking at revenue here all the way through. So let's open up their top listing and go through, have a quick scan, see what they're working with, and see if there's anything we can take away from the Amazon page itself. So, so we've got obviously their main image here. So this is a pack of 3, and this is their number 1 seller. Now they do have different scents. Actually, this is part of a variation here. But this is obviously their number 1 seller, 3,000 units sold in the past month. Their main image here, very simple, very clean, sulfate-free, paraben-free, dye-free, phthalate-free as well, or phthalate. So obviously there's some beauty as well. And again, it's a thing that's very Western dominated, is obviously me being from Ireland and a lot of our clients, in fact, most of our clients being Western based, Australia, Europe, USA, but Western people obviously aren't into like heavy fragrance products, any unnecessary chemicals, generally speaking. Everything should be function first. And that's obviously what they've tapped into here is clean deodorant, particularly in a like hyper industrialized economy and the first world countries. Everything's very industrialized, but through that you move away from kind of the organic ingredients, the naturalness of ingredients. And that is why these are actually in heavy in demand. So gentle, pH imbalance, luxurious ladder. Let's come out here so we can do a bit of a scan rather than go super deep into all of these images. So again, very simple. This is something we see time and time again. And obviously being on Amazon, we understand that people are looking for solutions. You know, they're searching for the top keyword. So they're already aware of the problem and they're already trying to find, they're solution aware and trying to find this. So ultimately native, on Amazon at least, are competing against, let's have a look, a search actually. They're competing against the top competitors. Let's see. And let me just add as well, I just noticed we're looking at the body wash here as well. We're not even looking at the deodorant, which is obviously their hero product and what they scaled up on. So we can, if we come back in here to the sales revenue, you see this is actually a body wash. You know, the deodorant is number 2 here. So it just goes to show that pivot is obviously paying off huge dividends for them and becoming their top product. So if we look at body wash as a search term itself, so we're looking at the marketplace of Amazon, what does that look like? Obviously competing against, like body wash, competing against some really big brands here, some very recognizable brands, ones that you would see off the shelf in stores. Obviously taking up one of the top positions in ads here, at least on my browser. Are they in the top positions organically? Not that I can see so far. However, okay, so here they are here, previously viewed. Now Amazon may be showing this a little bit higher because we have viewed it. I'm going to pop up their the volume here and see what we're working with. While that is loading, I also brought up their top deodorant too. So I also want to run the same on that. I want to search deodorant and I also want to check as far as ad positions. But then I also want to check on their organic. So they're not in the top organic. Or sorry, the top ads, which is obviously top ones you can see here sponsored. The organic positions, I don't see them here, deodorant. Now, I bet if we search natural deodorant, we will see something. So deodorant coming here again, this previously viewed though. So Amazon may indeed be showing this because we viewed the product. Native. So here they are down here anyway. Let's open up deodorant. I already know they're going to be top for like natural deodorant because look, that's what they are. That's what their name is for. But let's say the top terms, which is going to be deodorant itself and body wash. So let's switch back across and have a look at the body wash and see what the revenue numbers are. It's over 1 million. So they're obviously very comparable because we've seen them doing over 1 million a month for their top product. So this is obviously just a variation here. What else we got? Native. There's another one there. So some serious volume in this market, obviously 16 million a month just from page 1. So very interesting. And they have organic positions. We can see that. So let's pop back into the deodorant and see what we're working with here. So they're doing the most revenue. If we look at this organized by organic rank, they are further down. Where did that product disappear to? The question. If I go back to revenue, let me see where that was. Number 13, let's see. Okay, so doing the most revenue, which is incredible. You know, I would imagine these guys are higher priced. 19. So they're higher priced, generally speaking, or one of the higher priced items. We know Amazon's algorithm does favor lower prices. So there may be a reason they might not get the organic top positions, at least for deodorant being the highest one. But I would imagine for any other top terms surrounding natural deodorant, they certainly would be. Because we've seen that top sales. Okay, so we're in the body wash here. We'll just have a quick scan. And we will see what is there anything else. So again, how do I get very simple marketing? I mean, there's just nothing here. And again, as we know, anything you can show visually as opposed to by text is just a win. It just takes less calories as far as thinking and processing images for us as humans to process a visual image than it is to read text. So we can kind of get what they're getting at here. People it's suited to, smiling faces, beautiful people. This is exactly what they've got tapped into here. And there's just no need for text. There's just no need. At least on the solution aware marketing here that they are on Amazon. And if we open up their other images, again, nice bright colors, which is really nice. Lavender and rose. Bit of cross-sell action here. Obviously it's a 3-pack, so actually they're just going into the 3-pack here. It's not cross-selling. But, and then they've got the pack. Now the image here is actually quite low quality. I cannot zoom in here, which is a bit strange for a listing like this. Usually you get these scrolling, or I can see when I put my mouse over this, it doesn't zoom in. Now these images they've uploaded are lower resolution, which is not going to be as high quality as it could be, because usually when you scroll over this, as we've seen in other videos, it will zoom in. Let me see if I can bring it up on the other page. See here? See, they've got that zoom. Now this is just shows that they've uploaded a better, more optimized image. So I'm not sure why on the body wash that is not the case. It doesn't really make sense to me. But this would obviously be one way of at least boosting the legibility of their images, which is ultimately going to boost the conversion rate. Because right now, as you've seen with this image, I can't even zoom in. So I don't know if that's a glitch on their part, but it's not good. So they would certainly boost conversion and boost at least the legibility of the images on what would be their top SKU. So I'm not sure how that has happened. Maybe that's some sort of error. But look, as I said, they're outselling almost everyone here. So, but they still have some things they can improve on. Okay, so we've looked at the deodorant, we've looked at the body wash. Let's pop back in here. Actually, sorry, let me just look at the A+ Premium as well. Or maybe not A+ Premium. So they've got A+ Original, so they don't have A+ Premium either. As we know, A+ Premium, what is that going to do? In a world that is becoming more mobile dominated, we can see even in traditional niches, obviously I see this in multiple client accounts as well, what would have been traditionally more desktop oriented, maybe an older demographic, is moving towards mobile anyway. So 60% mobile, 70% mobile sessions becoming the norm, even on Amazon. Now, if you're working with an A+ Original here, you're basically taking one upload or one design, and Amazon are trying to adapt it to both mobile and desktop. Now, if you're trying to adapt it to both, it's never going to be perfect for either one. That's just the facts, you know. So native here with this image or with this listing should really have A+ Premium. A+ Premium is going to show to the width of the page. It's going to be a lot higher quality image. There is other features here, but I mean that is just stands out immediately. There's going to be higher quality images. One, for desktop, of course, which is important. But two, obviously mobile, because I've no doubt that these guys have got a higher traffic on mobile, and yet they do not have mobile optimized content, which is, again, similar to their images above, something that needs to be improved and can be improved. Even if they are top dog in their niche, you can't get complacent. You cannot get complacent. You know, very simple cross-selling here on the deodorant, but it works. Some of these images can maybe be a bit improved. Kind of looks a little bit disjointed here on this imagery. And then if we pop into the body wash, let's see. Again, the images themselves are very clean, very nice. They're repeating some of the main image is here in the A+ Premium, which is fine. Kind of repeating that same messaging. If this is key messaging, of course, it's good to repeat. And I would imagine at their level, they know exactly what customers are looking for. So these are probably what converts. But you want to make sure of that for you, obviously. If you're going to be repeating messages throughout, which can be good, you got to make sure you're tapping into the right messaging, because otherwise you're just repeating stuff that is not resonating at all. And that is not good, as we know. So again, we're looking at A+ Original. We do not have mobile optimized content here. Again, I do think these images could maybe be a little bit improved. Like this is very far away here. These are very far away. This is very far away. And then we've got the colors. It looks a little bit, I hesitate to say, it looks a little bit amateurish, given the success, obviously, of this brand. And how well they've done. But again, I do think these should be brought forward closer to the frame, so they're more legible. And but I do like the contrast and the colors. I think that's nice. And again, cross-selling, it doesn't need to be, they don't need to overdo it here. Obviously, they've got a brand that is well known as well. So brand equity will get them practically all of the way here, but there is certain things that can come in to just make that and just enhance that user experience, or customer experience, I should say. Okay. There is one thing I did notice on their Shopify, a little bit less, a little bit not as, if I can speak would be great, a little bit trickier to do with terms of service on Amazon. But if I open up their, so let me just open the main image first. If I open up their Shopify and I go into, give me a deodorant, let me go in here. Deodorant's sick. So I love that it just brought me straight into the product listing itself. Now that was pretty incredible. Now I am bouncing a little with the Shopify, but I did want to point out one thing in terms of flexibility, Amazon versus Shopify and D2C. You'll notice this banner here. This is obviously not on that product, that primary unit packaging, but it is something to make the model stand out, or to make this fragrance stand out. Obviously, coconut and vanilla deodorant. So to make that stand out, they've basically enhanced it and put a banner around it. Now, if I go back to their Amazon page, oh, they actually do have it. Interesting enough, I didn't see this before. But this is not on the product. So we know that we can enhance the main images, obviously D2C Shopify, but also on Amazon as well. Now, it might be a little bit grey hat because it's not actually that's not actually on the primary packaging. But it does work for standing out in the search results. So for example, as we see in deodorant here, let's have a little scan. So they don't have it here. Let me see, we did have it. They have it here. So this is obviously not on the primary packaging, but it is on the main image. Why is that? Because it makes it legible. The different styles stand out. They obviously know lavender and rose is something that does well. And it just goes to show you can manipulate that main image to get a higher click-through rate, because it does look better than these. And it's not actually on the primary packaging. So there's a little, I would say, I don't even know if it is grey hat. It's pretty white hat, and ultimately it's to make customers be able to see the product, but many people don't know that. They just end up taking a picture of their primary packaging. Good way of testing as well, if you were launching different packaging designs too, as far as click-through rate, because you'll see here, it's not in the actual, it's not on the actual thing, you know, it's actually a lot smaller in text. Okay, so we've done a bit of a deep dive here. Let me go back in here so we don't spend too much time on the Amazon listing themselves. So yeah, exited 100 million cash, everyday product. So strong keyword ownership around natural deodorant. So obviously, this is one where they really built a moat around, and they've obviously backed that up by a huge amount of sales and getting that exit. Huge or high volume reviews and steady velocity. So how do they look at reviews compared to the market? Let's have a look. I'm going to just run the data dive here because it's going to be a little bit quicker for me. So let's see, what are we working with here? So we're looking at the body wash native. Where's the review count? Who can see it? Review is 10,000. It's obviously a very mature market, as you would expect, for a very necessary product. So 10,000 reviews. So not the highest reviews by any stretch, but again, you're competing with some of the top brands. You obviously see Dove and, I don't know how to say that word, CeraVe, maybe. So it makes sense they're not the highest review, as we've seen with some other brands, but ultimately, still a hell of a lot of reviews. Let's have a look at deodorant. I'm going to actually search natural deodorant because I want to see in that sub niche, because we know that sub niches are king on Amazon particularly. Let's see. Reviews. Native. Okay, I mean, look at that. 93,000 reviews, and that kind of blows everyone out of the water. This is deodorant. We know this is the hero SKU. We've spoken about how you can build that moat around the hero SKU, even if the next launch or the secondary SKU can bring in more profit, or in this case, actually become the hero SKU. But you really want to launch in the markets that you can get an edge at. And they've certainly done this with native deodorant. Again, we can see that main image. What would be illegible is with the banner. Again, this is not on their packaging, obviously, but it's just in the image. Is there. So let me just, I want to search natural deodorant. Let me just pause this. So let's see. So you've got natural deodorant. I'd imagine this is their top converting term. It's not going to be, maybe there's deodorant as well, but I just know they obviously built their business off of this. Let me just have a search here. And I would say they're peppered throughout. By the way, Amazon will obviously show slightly different SEO. That's even in ads and organic, depending on like location, your browser. If I've been looking at these products before, what it thinks I'm most likely to buy, by and large, it will stay somewhat consistent. It's not going to be complete opposite, but just something to keep in mind as we're looking through these results. If you bring these up on the browser, it might be slightly different. Okay, let's see. So how many times the native come up at their pepper throughout? I mean, I just had a feeling. Well, maybe it's not a feeling. I've obviously searched into the brand. So native here, number 4, number 5. Reviews. I mean, look at it. So we've seen this time and time again. Like a natural deodorant, and these guys are just king. You know, they've dominated, and they're in here 4 times. So they've got serious market share. They probably had, again, I don't know this for sure, they probably had natural deodorant on this before, and this is a kind of a strategy as well. If you can kind of build your brand, if you can build a brand around a sub-niche that's less competitive and more where you can get market entrance, and then you can, from that base, then advance into the higher traffic markets where perhaps you could not get into at the start. So you might not be able to get into, let's say, to use this example, a deodorant, but you could go into a sub-niche within deodorant, to corner that market off, get the profit flowing, reinvest the profits then into that higher level marketing, start changing the listing, fine-tuning it a bit more. These are the very natural step-by-step way. At least for people like me, I never had unlimited funds. I wasn't backed by any VCs or anything like that. So to me, it was bootstrapped. So it always had to be a case of a natural progression. And this is how we've done it for clients as well. Is can you can you corner off these markets? And if so, then you're bringing in the profit. It's the name of the game. Going to be less competitive, but high aspirations then. What's the marketing angles? What do we need to do to get into the higher traffic markets and really set the world alight, so to speak? So obviously high volume here as well. So let's come back in. Kept SKUs focused. Okay, and then the scents. Yeah, so review modes we've obviously seen again in the natural deodorant and obviously D2C. Now, the AOVs on this are obviously going to be lower. This is deodorant, you know. So in the traditional kind of D2C senses, over $60 AOV is going to be like the standard, so to speak, at least what some people would believe. But ultimately, what will come into native's advantage is obviously their lifetime value. You know, people ain't changing their like household essentials very regularly. You know, if you're buying like soaps and shampoos and body washes and deodorants, generally you're going to make a purchase and then stick around. So what would be very important for them, and obviously they've nailed it as far as getting those customers in, getting the acquisition of customers in at a relatively low rate, and then lifetime value. I believe he mentioned the repeat. Don't quote me on this. I'm just trying to think back from the video. I think it was like 40 to 50% repeat. So it just goes to show with products like this in a market maybe that has a low AOV, but ultimately if you've got repeat purchases and subscriptions that bring you up to 50%, 40 to 50%. I mean, that's where the name of the game is. You can acquire customers for a premium upfront. Ideally not, of course, but you can obviously pay a premium upfront if you know that half of your customers are going to stick around for a long period of time, and you can really optimize the funnel. So hope that makes sense. So let's move into their D2C. Natively and heavily on subscription offers and bundles. Yes, so exactly as we said, they can't really necessarily go into the AOVs here, but they high average order value, I should say. I hope that so that people understand that. But they can obviously go really deep onto subscriptions and bundles. So let's pop open their Shopify itself and just have a quick look and see what we're seeing. So obviously got the homepage here. You can see their products. They are obviously working with deodorant, whole body deodorant, body wash, hair care, lotion. And the interesting thing is when you click on it, it brings you straight to the product page. So you don't have these big massive collection pages where it's like you got 20 different ingredients, because they probably have a hell of a lot of SKUs anyway. We can see from their variations here, but they're bringing you straight in here. They want you to get closer to a purchase. We obviously seen this with other brands too. Who do we see it with? We seen it with Golly, in that they almost didn't have a product page. They basically were getting people to purchase directly on the collection page. So what it basically said to me was the brand was so strong that they're getting these direct purchases because they do a hell of a lot of work in terms of marketing off of Amazon, but also just generally. So the brand is that strong. Now, a little bit of a different approach here from Native. Rather than not having a product page, they basically bring it directly onto the product page. And again, trying to get that purchase. Not a huge funnel or really in-depth steps here, because they've done a lot of the upfront work as far as brand equity. Default being subscribe and save. One time here being more expensive. So again, you're starting to think the repeat customer rate is really high. And these are one of the reasons why. So we've obviously got their video here. It's actually extremely simple. Glamour. I think Glamour is a magazine, right? But extremely simple. I mean, look, no complication. And you often see this with the biggest brands in the world. They ain't over here complicating the process. You know, they know what works and they just do that. Again, I mean, does it get any more simple? This is very easy to put together. Obviously, the juice here is in the testimony, just obviously GQ. The other one is Glamour. But the video itself is very simple. And I'm just thinking here as well, when I've had from my brands mentioned in magazines and stuff, it's giving me some ideas here around this video, just to kind of demonstrate that. Again, quite simple here. We've seen this on Amazon. Featuring it delicious. 9 ingredients. So I spoke about this a little bit earlier, but people just don't want unnecessary ingredients, you know. Obviously this is a fragrance thing, it's a body wash of course, but they don't want unnecessary chemicals in there. And this applies for a multitude of categories. Again, you got some testimony in here as well, or some social credibility, I should say. Get 20% off 3-packs, so they really want you to buy into the ecosystem. So really beautiful thing. Launch the hero, launch the complementary products. Get people really bought into the ecosystem. Get them on subscribe if you can as well. And but none of this happens without kind of getting a little bit of insight into his mentality and what actually got them here. And I'm going to go through that in just a moment. Okay. So D2C, social proof guarantees, free returns. Again, is there many people going to return deodorant? It's just not going to be the case. However, people don't feel like there's any risk when there's free returns. Safe, simple ingredients. If you look at the traffic on their... Why did that just reset? Oh no, here it is here. If you look at the traffic on their site, we've got 500,000 views a month. I mean, that's pretty next level. And organic paid traffic. So organic obviously doing extremely well. SEMrush has estimated at $500,000 in traffic. And also, what is interesting to think about as well, even the people on the subscriptions are not visiting the website. Do you know what I mean? They're not coming back onto the website. So it kind of gives you an idea of the scale of this, because this is the traffic based on the visits on the website. But if they've got like 40 to 50% repeat customers, there's a hell of a lot. Almost half the customers are not actually visiting the site. So you can get an idea of how big this company is. I know Mo's mentioned that when they were acquired, they were at a 50 million run rate. So that would be about 3.5 million. 4 million a month, 4 million on a touch. Before they were acquired for what's reported as $100 million cash. But you can see here, what did we have on Amazon? We had, this is 2 pages, right? We had 6 million on Amazon. Again, I'm not sure if there's a seasonality here. It's very possible there is. There is a true line here though. We're kind of in the middle. So there is points where it is a little bit more in traffic. But if we assume like 70, 80 million here in Amazon, we can kind of assume we're getting, I'm not sure exactly, but good numbers on Shopify as well. And that's just from the people that are visiting the site. We're talking about 8 figures there by itself, potentially. And then obviously if we're looking at a lot of people that are not even visiting the site, or maybe not even visiting Amazon. Actually, the Amazon subscriptions are baked into this, so scratch that. But the website traffic for the site is not baked in on D2C. So there is a lot of people doing that as well. So we're looking at a 9-figure brand here, I would estimate, and one that is doing extremely well. So has Procter & Gamble doubled their revenue since acquiring the brand? It looks like that. Obviously, you got retail and stuff like that as well. That's one of the big advantages of Procter & Gamble and all the big companies. They will have easy access to retail, etc. So we're aware of how much traffic they're getting. We're aware to pay it, at least according to SEMrush, is a lot lower. But let's see what they are running on SEMrush. Again, at a certain level, they're just building brand equity. They're building awareness because what they have is working and their funnel is working. Let's have a look here. So a lot of ads running live. Native. Go further and further back. This ad's running since September the 2nd. Let's see. So I've got pretty new ads, so no big ones that I'm running the whole time. So click the cart. I do see a lot of this as well. Is this? Let's go and have a look at their website. It's obviously on Walmart, on Target as well. Okay, so direct here. Let's have a little look at the ad itself. Say no to BO. It's quite simple. 72 hours, 6 ingredients. They're pointing at the simplicity here. Obviously, you can see they're following here too. It's quite a lot. Let's have a look what else we got here. Let's have a look at their video ad. I can't hear anything. Again, very simple videos. You know, you do see a lot of people going in with studio level videos, even like UGC, but these guys are keeping it very simple and nice and clean though, obviously very much on brand and pointing at the real benefit. So keeping it, again, extremely simple. Let's see. Start running September, so let's have a look at this one. See the ad details. Baking soda free, okay. Again, if we click on this, it's going to bring us onto the product page. Not available. Okay, so they have an ad running to a dead link here, basically, which is not good. And there should be, let's have a look at their other split testing. Okay, so obviously they're running something for desktop and then running something for mobile with the portrait orientation. Let's have a look at this one, because this maybe is the one that they've got. I can actually see some
I do a lot of things that make my skin dirty and dry. So my wife says, use Native. I pump it and put it on my sensitive, dry, yet beautifully melanated skin. And I say, ooh, that's nice. Now I'm out here smelling like vanilla milk and shea butter. Native lotion provides 48-hour moisturization and is designed for sensitive skin. Native works for me even on my messy days. So trust that it'll work for you too. I do a lot of things that make my skin.
Very good, yeah. But yeah, obviously getting into the UGC as well. So we have a couple other ones here too.
I've lived out of the back of my self-built van for 3 years, and even when I'm parked miles from anywhere in the middle of nowhere, I've lived out of the back of my self-built van for 3 years, and even when I'm parked miles from anywhere in the middle of nowhere, I still keep the essentials, especially body wash, and Native's new fall collection has got me smelling like a crisp autumn morning. And for me, a getaway isn't really flights and hotels, it's finding a new adventure, waking up somewhere new, and making daily routines feel special. And when you live in a van, space is obviously very limited, so everything has to earn its spot, and this fall getaway collection from Native has definitely made the cut. And after a nice outdoor workout, getting sweaty and tired, the toasted honey and vanilla scent is like an instant cozy morning, even when I'm parked out in the middle of nowhere. And the smell actually lasts, which is nice because showering in a van is not exactly daily. And it's honestly the little things like this that make the van feel like a 5-star getaway. And
nice. So again, we've got quite simple.
This summer has been filled with diving, snorkeling.
So very active people. Got a couple of versions of this running.
This summer has been filled with diving, snorkeling.
All right, let me open this up.
This summer has been filled with diving, snorkeling, collecting shells, basically living in the sun, but that also means extremely dry skin. I'm partnering with Native to show you what actually saves my skin. Ocean days dry me out so badly, leaving me with tight, dull, and itchy skin. Native's lotion gives me 48-hour moisturization, and it's made for sensitive skin. This lotion is the perfect summer essential, and it smells so good. No parabens, no silicone, no drama, just glow. Trust me, if it works for me, it'll work for you too. This summer.
Okay, so we know why these are working. Obviously, they're not studio level, but they're actually pretty good. I mean, video creators these days are really good. And obviously in a society that is a lack of trust for everything, lack of trust for government, lack of trust for police, a lack of trust for your neighbor even, you know, I mean, there's just a big lack of trust. So this type of UGC works, very authentic, and something that is proven time and time again. Simple value prop subscriptions. So obviously getting that lifetime value up, recurring revenue and higher lifetime value. Wider niche, so global deodorant, total addressable market, 22 billion in 2016, 30 billion by 2025. So this should already be out there. CAGR 5%. Natural deodorant segment projected at 1 billion by 2025. Fastest growing slice of the market. Okay. Now, I did also watch a couple of interviews on Moz as well. And he seems like a great guy. Here was one of the interviews I watched too. So feel free to check that out by these guys. But I've wrote down some of the notes here so you guys can get some takeaways without reading or without watching the whole thing. So as far as mentality, so operate quietly when working on the product. No PR for native until exit. He did say this for a couple of reasons and we can all resonate. There's some form of like fear as well, but talking obviously about your brand publicly, very natural, and also maybe more importantly they were just busy, things were working, so they were focused on doing the job at hand as opposed to talking about doing the job at hand. So this makes sense. No PR, obviously kept the brand relatively quiet until then. So obviously one thing I did pick up was him and his brother. There is a genuine curiosity, so they do ask lots of questions when they're at masterminds or communities, etc. like that. And this makes sense. You've got to have that innate curiosity to continue to learn. And this is something that requires, it's kind of taking away the ego a little bit. So you can get an idea of the mindset here. One thing you talked about as well was at the start with native is like talking to every customer, you know, sending emails to every customer, getting their feedback. And this is something that takes time. You can't have open email tickets with a lot of customers and not have this take time. But what does that give you? That arms you with the latest market data. A lot of stuff people look at when they're doing product research and market research is all predictive, you know. We can kind of guess we can kind of know what the TAM is, but it's a lot of predictive work. If you want to get like cutting edge feedback on products for not only to know how they're currently working, but also then to inform you on your next iterations of the product. I mean, talking to every customer is a no-brainer. This is maybe not a scalable thing, but it is something that I do see time and time again is being intrinsically talking to the customer and intrinsically involved in all of the details. So he talked about packing the products himself, at least at the start, talked about the packaging, the weights of the products. These are all things that maybe people try and avoid, you know, but ultimately if you're going to build something that scales, you've got to know it at the level that you can do that because ultimately it's going to break. I've had it happen in my business as well, where supply chain breaks down when you're producing at scale. Obviously good problems to have, but that doesn't necessarily have to happen if you are involved in the details along the way, or it's less likely to happen as well. You do mitigate some of that, but being ultimately involved in the details is something that Moaz did. Seemed like a genuinely nice guy. There was one part that actually made me laugh as well, and that is him talking about, it's actually his brother and him, but talking about that they don't feel satisfied unless they've basically entrapped themselves in a business problem, which makes a lot of sense and I can kind of understand. You get addicted to being almost like the warfare of it, you know, which is pretty funny. Made me laugh, and something that I can definitely resonate with. So again, the interview is here. Feel free to check it out by these guys here, and it is a good one. At least the first half, and the second half they do start talking a lot about investing, which is also interesting as well. But for us, we just want D2C. We just want Amazon actionable insights, and that's in the first half. So single hero SKU in a commoditized category, you can scale to a 9-figure exit with the right positioning. So marketing comes down to, obviously, I'm sure they back themselves with the product as well, but you do have to have the right positioning. You do have to understand what you're doing. And let me just add as well, at one point during the interview, you mentioned, like, again, don't overcomplicate the process. Don't get lost in these kind of super long, detailed thought experiments about positioning and the product and stuff. Often action can mitigate a lot of the issues, and just taking action and learning along the way. So I totally agree with this, as in I've seen people take many years to launch a product, and it works or it doesn't work. I've seen people take very little time and it works as well. You know, I don't think there's any panacea here, but what is for sure is not complicating the process will allow you to move with speed and allow you to get wins or learn a lot faster than everyone else. So this is a big advantage. Don't overlook boring categories. I actually wouldn't even categorize this necessarily as a boring category, but it is one that is turned into fortunes. Okay. All right, cool. So yeah, just as a close here, so always remember, something I remind myself of constantly, one product is all it takes. You know, you can do one SKU and it's going to do millions of dollars. I've done it. Many of our clients have done it. And always be on the lookout for that next one, because that can change the game for you. One quick ad here is our school community. So we've launched our school community. The link is in the description here. If you're interested, check it out. I'm not going to be here trying to shill it the whole time. It won't be a big earner necessarily for us, but I think it can be very valuable for you guys. So if it's interesting, check it out. And if not, just hit the subscribe button and drop a comment below if you have any thoughts on this, if you agree with what I'm saying, if you disagree. I'd love to hear it. So until next time.